Hello friends, this is A Boater's Guide to Oahu. I'm going to be going over everything I can think of to let you know what to expect when arriving to the Hawaiian Islands by sailboat, and specifically a great amount of detail about keeping a boat on Oahu, how to check in, how to get a guest slip at a state harbor, things to do, whatnot. I won't be doing one of these for every single island, but much of what I tell you in this episode can be applied to the other islands because each of the islands has their own state harbors, and the process is, I think it's the exact same at every state harbor. So, if you've been with my channel for a while, you've seen that I've done these for various harbors in Southern California. So this is more of that sort of feeling where I'm just going to be sitting and telling you everything I need to know to try to help you have an informed idea of what to expect if you're thinking about sailing to Hawaii, or if you've already planning a passage and will be arriving. So let's get into it. Now, when I arrived at the Hawaiian Islands, I made landfall in Honolulu. A lot of people make landfall in Hilo, but I'm going to tell you step by step what I experienced arriving to Honolulu. And this applies if you're sailing just inter-island, if you're making your way through the islands, or if you're making first landfall in Honolulu. Now, if you arrive in Honolulu and you're planning on staying at Alawai Harbor, which is the state harbor, it's right in Waikiki, downtown Honolulu. Really great spot, tons of access to everything. If you arrive after 4:30 on a weekday, or on the weekend, the office, Harbormasters office, is going to be closed. There is no fuel dock, there's no guest dock, there's no pump out dock. There's an inspection dock that's tucked way up in the marina, harbor. But I would advise that you tie up for the night on these old cement docks, which used to be part of a boatyard that was in Honolulu years ago. This is where I arrived. I've seen a lot of people pull up there. A lot of people will just pull up there on the weekend and tie up, until the office opens, and then they make their way over and clear in with the office. So, as you're coming down the Alawai Channel, you'll see them off your starboard side. They're usually open, or there'll be one or two boats in there, but there's almost always a place to tie up in those docks. There is a sailing catamaran called Pink Sails that picks up passengers on the very sort of end tie in the channel. So they do that daily. So you might not want to tie to that one, but any of the interior ones, if there's a spot, pull up into there. If all of those are taken up for some weird reason, you can always go to the end of the turning basin and pull up just to the cement wall and tie off. There's cleats there. But the problem with that is it exposes you right to the public sidewalk. There's no fence or anything. And it's fine if you left your boat there or whatever, but it's like such easy public access. I'm not sure I would want to leave my boat there and go off of the boat. Another option is you could pull up to the inspection dock, which I'm showing you on the screen right now. But the problem with that is if they have an inspection first thing in the morning and they come out and see your boat, you're already going to be on the wrong foot with them. And it's a little frustrating because they don't give you any guidance as to what you're supposed to do. Basically, they're just like, don't arrive when we're closed, which is absurd. So just know that there's, a couple of different ways to get around that. You can do those cement docks. Another thing is you pull in, you can tie off, like I said, at the end of the turning basin, and go walk the docks and find a slip that's empty that doesn't have dock lines tied to it, and just pull your boat in there and for the night, so you have a secure place to tie up. There are a lot of empty slips in the Alawai. So those are kind of options for if you arrive when the office is closed. Now I want to say right away that this video is really talking people through boats that are U.S. flagged boats, or boats that have already cleared into the U.S. that maybe are foreign vessels. I don't know the clearing process for foreign vessels, so that's not something I can speak to. But if you're coming from the U.S. or, you know, you've already been cleared into the U.S. and you're a foreign flag vessel, then this is what to expect, and the steps to go through when arriving to Honolulu. Okay, I'll say right off the bat, dealing with the Harbormasters in Hawaii is very much like going to the Department of Motor Vehicles in the United States. I'm not sure what the equivalent to that is for people coming from other countries, but it is extremely frustrating. So you have to arrive with a lot of patience and just be ready to have an experience very similar to going to the DMV. The first thing you need to know about dealing with any of the Harbormasters in Hawaii is don't think that you're in California. Don't think of Hawaii as a regular state on the mainland, because it's not. That's not the situation. And it'll make your life easier if you arrive and just think about Hawaii like it's another country, because that's more the case. The other thing is, don't arrive feeling that you're entitled to a specific type of service, customer service, or whatever, because, well, this is a state and I'm a United States citizen. Just leave that sort of like feeling or expectation at the door, and your life will be richer for it in this experience. I'm not sure why, but it feels like all of the Harbormasters, and I've dealt with a number of them in Hawaii, it feels like they really hate boating. They hate boats, and they hate boaters. And I'm not sure why that is, but that's been my general experience, that they are super annoyed to have to deal with you and to deal with boats in general. And it's very strange, but that's just a fact of life. And you can ask anyone who's spent any time on boats in and around Hawaii, that's the case. Now, of course, there's like lots and lots of talk about the racism in Hawaii. Is there racism in Hawaii against white people? Yes, there is. There's also racism against people everywhere in the world. So it's, you know, that's just, and racism sucks no matter where it is or who it's against. It sucks. But yes, there is racism against people everywhere. So that's neither here nor there. Now, one thing that's important to know about dealing with anyone in Hawaii, but specifically Native Hawaiians, is that respect is a currency. So you just treat them with absolute respect. Even if they come at you aggressively, or if they, you know, it feels like, you know, they're trying to create a confrontation. As the saying goes, like, kill them with kindness. But the main thing is, if you're really respectful and you're chill, I've seen them switch like that. So that goes, in Hawaii, respect goes a very long way. Like, don't feel entitled and be respectful. Like, you're visiting these islands, so just keep that in mind. And it's super annoying, and it doesn't mean they're right. They may be assholes. But the fact of the matter is, they can make your life hell. Specifically talking about the Harbormasters, they can make your life hell. So do yourself a favor and just, like, bite your tongue off and just be respectful and be chill and just get it done, you know. I had some good advice in that direction when I arrived, and it was a frustrating process at first. And basically every time I had to go into the Harbormasters office, I felt like I had PTSD because I was so stressed. And it's funny because everyone I know, people that have lived around here for years, they had the same experience. They're like, oh man, I have to deal with them. I'm so stressed out. So just know that that's the case. Be chill, and everything will be okay. You're going to go into the Harbormasters office. You're going to tell them, you know, I would like a guest slip for this size boat, and see if they have a guest slip. They usually do. The only time they might not is like when the Transpac is happening, specifically the Alawai, because that's where the Transpac ends. So that's the only time it'd be a little tricky, so check that schedule. But you just tell them, guest slip, this is how big my boat is, this is where I came from, and they'll say, okay, we have a slip, or we don't, and then they'll tell you everything you need. So the things you need to get a guest slip at any state harbor in Hawaii is you need your registration or documentation number, your title or your like certificate of documentation. You need $500,000 worth of insurance coverage with the state harbor as an underwriter on the insurance plan. Now that sounds intense. It's not a big deal. Well, I mean, it might be depending on your insurance, but I have Progressive, which is like the cheapest boat insurance you can get. I looked online. I was able to do everything online, like up to my coverage from whatever I had in California to $500,000. It cost me like $70 extra a year or something. And then I was even able to go through the website and to just add the harbor as like another person on the insurance. It was very easy. And then you could just remove them after you leave. And I believe you have to do that with each state harbor. So as you go to different state harbors, you'll add that state harbor on. You can remove the old one if you've used up your time. Another thing you'll have to do is a vessel inspection with one of the people at the Harbormasters office, where they'll have you pull your boat up to the inspection dock, which is directly, it's right next to the boat ramp, directly in front of the Harbormasters office. And they'll have you help them measure your boat. They measure it from the tip of the anchor to the tip of your wind vane. So Tretea is a 30-foot sloop, and they measured her at 33 feet, and they charge you for every inch. So they'll do that, and then they just do a general inspection, the exact same inspection that the Coast Guard would do. So they check to see if you have life jackets, they check to see if your running lights work, your steaming light, they see if you have a horn or some kind of sound-making device, they see if you have flares, standard Coast Guard inspection stuff. Pretty simple. So the last thing they'll have you do is you have to do a buoy run. Even if you've sailed there from the mainland, they still make you do this buoy run. And basically all that is they have you motor the boat out and out the channel, and when you get to the old fuel dock, which they don't explain what that is or where it is, I'll put it on the screen right now and circle it. When you get to the old fuel dock, you call a number they've given you. They call the office. You tell them, I'm passing the old fuel dock. This is my name. This is my vessel's name. I'm doing my buoy run. And they say, okay. You drive out down the channel. You round the buoy. You call them from the buoy. You're like, this is my name. This is my vessel doing my buoy run. I just rounded the buoy. And they're like, okay. And then you go back. And by that point, they will have assigned you a slip. So you'll go put your boat in the slip. And then you go back in the office to complete the rest of the paperwork and to pay for however long you want to stay, and finish all that up. I think me clearing in, it took 2 hours to do everything. And if for some reason they can't do your inspection and your buoy run on the day that you get there, which is what happened to me, they charge you extra for the days before you have the inspection done, because they say they can't, they're not, like, you're an unpermitted vessel. So they charge you, I can't remember how much more, but it's not crazy, but they charge you more even if they don't have time in their schedule, because you're like not permitted. And then after you do all that, then they issue a temporary mooring permit every time you pay for days, you know, whether you pay for 30 days at a time or whether you pay for 5 days, they're going to charge you $10 mooring permit fee. So if you plan on staying long groups of time, like big chunks of time, just pay them all, and you just pay that $10 mooring fee once a month instead of like in little increments, you know? Now, back when I got here in September of 2021, they used to have all the prices listed on the website, and I cannot find that now. I don't know if they removed it or if they just buried it so deep in the site you can't find it, but I have my information right here. I was charged $18.34 a day for my 33-foot boat, plus $10 a day for staying aboard per person. Now the first, I think I paid for 3 weeks or something when I first got there, and I paid as a stay aboard. So that's like $10 a day. So I was paying like $28 a day. And then after that first month, another sailor was like, Oh, no, no, no. If anyone at any marina in Hawaii asks you if you're staying aboard, you are not staying aboard. So, I'm not going to go further into that in this video, but that is the advice. So, if you're not staying aboard, it would have just, if I was not staying aboard, and after that month when I wasn't staying aboard, it was $18.34 a day, which is really affordable. Especially if you think about you're in downtown Honolulu, steps from Waikiki Beach. Pretty fantastic. You look at the hotel prices around there, it's crazy. One thing I'll say about if you pay for the stay aboard, you are eligible to get a shower fob key that gives you access to the Ala State Harbor showers. Now, they are brutal. One of them, the one closest to the Hilton Village, I called the prison shower, and it was super gnarly. Like, homeless people got in there all the time, and it was really rough. There was one that was closer to the Hawaii Yacht Club that was quite a bit better, but even still, there was like no shower curtain and no way to lock the door. I mean, there was a key fob, but it was just like not, you know, you didn't linger, that's for sure. But you can only have that card, that key fob, if you, well, you have to give them a $100 deposit, cash. And then when you turn it back in, they give you a $100 check. So, and then if you stop staying aboard and you say you want to keep your boat and you're not staying aboard, you have to return that key before they'll let you sign up for not staying aboard. So, keep that in mind. After I was there a short time, I met some locals, and I won't go into how I received a shower card after I wasn't staying aboard, but there are ways around these sorts of things after you get in with the local sailors. So, at each of the state harbors in Hawaii, you have 120 days in the calendar year, which is a very strange process, but it really works in the favor of visiting sailors. So, I arrived in September. That meant I could stay until December, which I didn't stay that full time. I went anchoring around and exploring Oahu, but you can stay 4 solid months until December, and then the clock resets. So then you have January to April. So if you time it right, you can stay at the Ala for 8 months straight if you do it at the end of one year and the beginning of the next. And then once your time's up, you've tapped out your 120 days for the year, you can just move to another state harbor and you have another 120 days. The closest state harbor is Kehi, which I would not advise going to. It is really sketchy. The Harbormasters sketchy. There's drug addicts everywhere. I went down and looked at it, and I've known people that stayed there, and I would not keep my boat there under any circumstances. So just know that. But there are some other state harbors on Oahu that you could check out. And there will be a document in the description of this video. I have a PDF with all of the information I'm talking about, and then information about each of the state harbors is included in that document. One thing to mention that is pretty disturbing is that there are over 600 slips in the Ala, and there's a lot of people living aboard both legally and possibly illegally, and there is no pump out service. There's no pump out dock. There's no boat that goes around and pumps out. And most of those boats don't move. So, that being said, hire someone to clean the bottom of your boat if you're there. Stay out of the Ala. There's also like a canal, the Ala Canal, that the water from the mountains runs into. That all used to be wetlands. Like all of Waikiki used to be, that's all landfill. It used to be marshes and wetlands. So they divert all of that runoff from the mountains and send it out right through Ala Harbor. And there have been people that have died from flesh-eating bacteria from being in the Ala. That's pretty rare. I think it's happened twice, but that's enough to not, you know. And there are dudes that I see in that water every day scrubbing boats. So it's not totally toxic, but the pump out thing alone is like, save yourself the misery of knowing that and just hire someone to. There's a guy, Santiago, really good dude, and I'll check with him and see if I can put his number in the document, but he's a good dude and he cleans boats around there regularly. So just hire someone to clean the bottom of your boat and don't get in that water. Now, the Alawai used to have a reputation for being really sketchy and lots of drug addicts. A number of years ago, they doubled the price of slips there, and got rid of a bunch of the what I call hoboats, like the really sketchy, non-seaworthy boats that just like people just camp out on. And the 8 months I was there, popping around the Alawai, I didn't see anyone sketchy on the docks, even though all the docks have gates, but none of the gates lock. And you don't have a key to any of the gates because there's no lock. Even with the gates wide open, downtown Honolulu, I never saw anyone sketchy on the docks. I never had a problem with theft. I haven't spoken to anyone who has recently had a problem with theft. There are homeless people cruising around because you're in downtown in a city. They seem to just keep to themselves and don't cause any problems, from my experience. So, yeah, I think the days of like really sketchy Alawai are behind them. That's what I experienced while I was there. Now, speaking of sketchy business, when I left Oahu for good, I was told by someone who had just arrived that there are 96 boats on the waiting list for a permanent slip at the Alawai. Now, the week before I left, I counted 100 empty slips. So that's kind of telling about what's happening at the Alawai. There's a not secret at all situation to where they're trying to privatize all the state harbors in Hawaii, or at least in Oahu. I don't know about the other islands, but for sure in Oahu they're trying to privatize them. And so my guess is someone from higher up in the state government is telling the DLNR to not give anyone permanent slips, so that on paper it looks like there's no demand for those slips, and then they have more justification to be like, you know, the state's losing money keeping up this harbor and no one wants these slips, and then they can like sell it off to the highest bidder. There's a lot of corruption in state politics in Hawaii, and that's evident by a number of politicians that were arrested by the feds just while I was there very recently. That's a known thing. Everyone talks about it. It's like, it's just how it is. And it's also a testament to what I was talking about before, is you can't really think about Hawaii as being like a regular state in the United States. I personally believe, not that it matters, but I personally believe that Hawaii should be turned back over as like a sovereign nation or a territory similar to Puerto Rico or something like that. I read Lost Kingdom, and it's, you know, it's a fact that the island, these islands were stolen from the Hawaiian people by white businessmen. And I have no white guilt or anything like that. It's just, that's just facts. That's facts. So it is, and you got to realize too, it wasn't that long ago. It was just over 100 years ago that these islands were taken from the Hawaiian people. So that's all stuff that you need to think about and be respectful about when you're coming to visit here. And then, you know, research some of the culture and stuff like that. But I've tried my very best to be, you know, to pay respect and sort of shine a spotlight on all the really interesting Hawaiian, like the heiaus, and just like talk about, you know, the Hawaiian names of places. I think it's important to show that kind of respect. I love Hawaii, and I've had a fantastic time here. But just know that, yeah, that's what's going on here, and that's the reality. So, and that might play into part as to why they have people working in the Harbormasters offices that hate boaters, because maybe they're just trying to like drive people out so that they can privatize them and the state can make more money off of, you know, private marinas. Okay, things near the Alawai. There is a ton of access around Alawai Harbor. So right out of the gate, your Alawai Harbor, there's the giant Hilton Village. It's swarming with tourists. Everybody's stoked. Everyone's having fun. That's like actually one of my favorite things, seeing everybody in their matching outfits and everyone's smiling. It's like, some people, it's like a once-in-a-lifetime experience. They get to go to Hawaii. Everyone is happy. And I love, love, love that. The Hilton Village has like a Starbucks. The local convenience stores are called ABC stores. So they have ABC stores. which is like, you know, everything you can imagine, like basic goods. There is very expensive. It's like double the price if you go to a grocery store, but like quick grab, like 7-Eleven, but on steroids. And there is some like restaurants and all kinds of stuff in the Hilton Village. There is, if you want really good coffee and super fast internet, you can go to the Prince Hotel. You just go into the hotel's lobby. Everyone is super nice. Everyone that works at the Prince is nice. There's a Honolulu coffee, like cafe inside the Prince lobby, and they have a ton of chairs. They have plugins for your laptop and your cell phones, and that's what I called my office. The whole time I was there, I would go over there, get a good coffee. They have like basic breakfast foods. I think they're only open till like noon or something, but everyone is super nice, really good food, and a fantastic place to get work done, get on the internet, and whatnot. As far as other food goes, the Harbor Pub is directly below the Chart House, and that's directly across from the harbor. And they have the best pizza I've ever had. They have this goat cheese and arugula pizza that is insane. I consumed like maybe a non-legal amount of pizza from that place while I was there. Now, don't show up hungry. It is a very island time pace at the Harbor Pub. It may take you an hour or longer to get your pizza, but it's going to be worth it. And just go in there, chill out. They have all the windows open. You can see the boats. Fantastic. So Harbor Pub is a great option. They also have a whole bunch of different food, but I was just cracked out on their pizza, so I went there regularly. Half a mile from the harbor is Waikiki Brewery, and they have really good, I was getting the Impossible Burgers there. They also, and I went to dinner with a bunch of people, so I know they have really good burgers. They have good fish and chips, all kinds of stuff. And then I would imagine their beer is really good too. I didn't go there with anyone who drank, so I'm not sure, but it's a really nice spot, an easy walk from the harbor, and the food was excellent. Further afield, a place I liked was in this neighborhood called Kaka'ako, and this place called Hank's Hot Dogs. And I got veggie dogs, but they had, my friend Sarah got like a regular sausage. She said it was amazing. Their fries are ridiculous. So that's a really good spot, and that area is really cool. There's tons of street art and shops and little restaurants and all kinds of stuff. There's also 2 dive shops right there, so if you need to get your tanks filled or dive gear, snorkel stuff, it's all right in that little zone. Now, if you're looking to do some provisioning, there is a very large mall called the Ala Moana Center that is just under a mile from the harbor, and they have a Foodland there, which is a very big grocery store. There's also a Target in the mall there that has food, which is really affordable. And then a couple blocks from Target is a Walmart that also has a ton of food. So those are 3 easy provision spots. Right after I arrived, I bought one of those granny carts, and that was my jam. I would just take that thing, go do my shopping, load it up, not have to carry anything, and then just like, casually walk back to the harbor. So there's a lot of stuff. And then the mall has tons of other shops. I don't really do shopping, but tons of, everything you'd think about in a mall. And then a large food court as well. As far as laundry goes, when I first arrived, I had a gnarly passage. Every bit of clothing and sheeting and everything was either just dirty or wet from seawater or whatever. So I took everything in a big sail bag and went and found this Inya Road Laundry. And I think I paid like $70 to get all my laundry done, which was insane, but that was like the treat I gave myself after a gnarly passage. After that, I went to I Do Laundry, like iPhone, but it's I Do Laundry, which was just kind of across the major street from that Inya Road Laundry. It's really expensive to do coin-op laundry, but there are no other close laundromats besides those 2 in Waikiki. But that I Do Laundry, a lot of their machines will take credit cards, which is nice when they're working. But and they're open pretty late, so you can go there, and if it's too busy, you can go back later, and it'll be dead. So those are places you can knock your laundry out after the passage. All right, let's talk about boat parts. As far as marine supply stores go, there are 2 on the island. There is Pops, which is really cool. And they're geared more towards the professional fishing fleet. They have it's one of the coolest boat shops I've ever been in, because they have all this crazy gear for fishermen. But they also have sort of general, you know, fuel filters, epoxy, fuses, all that kind of stuff. So not quite as wide of a range as West Marine, but they have a lot of stuff. I would always basically go to Pops first, and if they didn't have it, then I would go to West Marine. There is a West Marine as well, as I just mentioned, but there's only one West Marine in all of the Hawaiian Islands. And a lot of times their shelves will be bare of certain things, so just know that's a possibility, that because these are islands, there's just not the same sort of like volume of stuff on the islands that we're used to on the mainland. One cool thing is like West Marine and Pops are pretty close to one another, and between them is a Lowe's and a Home Depot. So if you get over to that zone, it's kind of a one-stop shop for any projects you're trying to knock out on the boat. You can kind of get everything at once. There's even a Best Buy right there too. So there's a lot of options for picking up stuff in that one little area, and that makes it easier than having to run all over the place. Now, if you have to have anything fabricated, I had several things fabricated through Universal Machining. They do a lot of like marine grade, like machining of parts, fabricating, whatever. They're really good, and their prices were fair. They were comparable to mainland prices, which I was kind of shocked about. But they can knock stuff out. They never took more than a week to make anything that I needed made. So that's a good thing to know about if you need something fabricated. Now let's talk about transportation. How are you going to get around? A couple of options. You could do Lyft or Uber, which is extremely expensive. I only did that if I was having to pick up something very heavy. Otherwise, at first I was just walking everywhere because it felt good to walk. And then I was taking the city bus quite a bit. The city bus is like $2.75 a ride. And then I discovered the bikey, like the city bikes. And those things are very, very, very handy. I found that you can get the $25 a month Kaima Aina pass, which is supposed to be for residents only. I signed up for it. They didn't ask me for an address. And if they had, I was just going to use an address for the harbor or for the Prince Hotel, just any random Hawaiian address. But they didn't ask for any way for you to prove that you're a Hawaiian resident. So I just signed up for that. And it was $25 a month, unlimited 1-hour rides on the bikes. And basically there are these bike racks where the bikes are locked into it all over Waikiki. And you just go up, you have your app, you say unlock it, and it gives you a code, you unlock the bike, and then you ride it across town. Like I would, all the time, I would get one at the Prince Hotel, and then I would ride it to right by Lowe's in West Marine, lock it up there, go do all my errands, go back to that bike rack, unlock it, ride it over to Hank's Hot Dogs that I just mentioned, lock it up, get a veggie dog, go back, and then go from there. And yeah, there are bike racks everywhere, and it's really convenient, and you get exercise, and I found that to be a dream. That is like, I got my money's worth out of that. I rode those things all the time. Now, if you decide you want to rent a car so that you can do some road trips, you can see the island, you can kind of go further afield, I would say rent a car from the airport. You can either take an Uber or a Lyft out there. Depending on the time of day, it'll probably cost you about $30 to take an Uber out there. Or you can take the city bus for $2.75. It takes about 45 minutes. Bring a book, chill out, takes you right to the airport. And but get your rental car at the airport. It is way cheaper than getting it in town, for sure. Now, I'm not going to go into like all the different things you could do as far as day trips go. So some of the things I really enjoyed doing on the island, especially like when my friend Sarah came and visited, we like got rental cars and like hit the island and saw all kinds of stuff, is we enjoyed seeing the Moana Falls Trail. Really easy hike, beautiful waterfall, and really close to Honolulu. We went hiking we did the Diamond Head Crater hike, which was fantastic, and actually one of my favorite things I did. We did that randomly. I think they're changing it now, so there's like a reservation system if you're not a resident, but we just were like driving. I like went to the mailbox, and I was like, oh, I saw a sign for Diamond Head Crater. I was like, let's just go over there. So we went there, did that, and it was awesome. It was really fun. Like, spectacular view. You get in these crazy old bunkers and see all this cool stuff. I loved the Diamond Head hike. It was awesome. You can head over to the east side of Oahu. There's a lot of really interesting beaches over there, and go do the Makapu'u Lighthouse Trail, where you hike up above the Makapu'u Lighthouse. Beautiful view, stunning. You'll see great frigate birds, Eva birds, and really gorgeous view. So that's a must do. Of course, everybody wants to go see the North Shore. If you're there in the summer, it's not as spectacular as the winter, because the winter is when all the crazy waves stand up and when everything's going off. So, but the North Shore is worth a trip. Check out, you know, it's really pretty. My favorite part of Oahu is the west side, and that's like the real sort of Hawaiian side. That's where the local Hawaiian families live. It's straight up locals, and everybody was super nice that I encountered, like, and it's just like more of a sort of rural vibe, and it's stunningly beautiful. It's like the dry side of the island, but you just won't see a lot of tourists on the west side, and I like that. Another thing, if you do head over to the west side, try to find time to hike out to Kaena Point. If you're there in the winter, you'll get to see the albatross. That was probably the highlight for me. I went and visited the albatross while they were nesting and doing their mating 3 times. Kimberly Wood took me twice, and then me and Sarah went when she came the last time. And every time I hiked out there, it was magic and really special. So, but even when the albatross aren't there, it's a cool thing to see. It's the very end of the island. In Hawaiian culture, it's believed that that's where the souls that die leave the island to go to the afterlife. So it has, like, you know, significance in Hawaiian culture. And yeah, the west side is awesome. Really enjoy it. So make sure you get over there. Okay, a little bit about beaches and snorkeling and all that stuff. There are countless beaches. You can kind of drive around the island, pull over anywhere, step off, and get in the water, which is amazing and so different than California, where it's like an ordeal to get to a beach. In the Hawaiian Islands, you just, like, there's beaches plenty. Alawai Harbor is steps away from the world-famous Waikiki Beach, so that's always an option. Good way to start your day. It's pretty saturated with tourists in the summer, but, you know, just walk over there, hop in, go for a dip, start your day out right. As far as snorkeling goes, some other really good snorkeling is Electric Beach. Is totally insane snorkeling. It's a pretty far surface swim. So if you're not comfortable with that, that might not be great. I anchored like 200 yards from the dive site and was able to just swim right over anytime I wanted. So if you are cruising around hitting all the anchorages, definitely check out Electric Beach. It was a good anchorage, good holding, and I had a fantastic time. Just, you know, that's the first place I got to, that I knew I swam with sharks. I swam with pretty large sandbar sharks there, and it was just like a really, and spinner dolphins. They just like swam right under me, and they were all around. So yeah, the Electric Beach is a fantastic snorkel site, but again, it's a really far surface swim if you're parking and swimming out. Speaking of anchorages, I'm not going to go into all the anchorages because I've done episodes for every single anchorage that I visited, so you can hop over to the Hawaiian Adventures playlist here on my channel and pick and choose whatever anchorages you're interested in seeing what my experience was, and go from there. The one thing I will mention about the anchorages is legally you're only supposed to stay at one anchorage for 72 hours at a time, and then you have to haul up and move to another anchorage. If you're on the west side, that's not difficult. There's a bunch of anchorages by each other. Near Honolulu, there's not really any anchorages. You can anchor Waikiki Beach, but it is extreme. It's an open roadstead, and it's very, very rolly. So that's more of like a fun thing to do in the afternoon, do some swimming. And I've spent the night there several times, but it's rarely ever comfortable there. It's very, very rolly. So, and then if you go back to Kaneohe, there's tons of places to anchor, so that's easy to pop around. I think they're spotty when they enforce it and when they don't. I had a harbor master leave a note on my dinghy On literally the third morning I was there, he left a note saying I had to leave the whole west side of the island, which is not the law. It's total bullshit. But I called him and I was really nice, and I was like, and it was blowing like 30 to 35. It was a pretty gnarly wind event, and I was like, you know, I don't feel safe leaving the Anchorage. Is it okay if I stay a couple more days? And he was chill. He's like, oh yeah, don't put your vessel in danger, so it's okay. And if anybody asks you, tell them I told you it was okay. So, and again, this pays back to, if I'd called him and been like, I know the law, this and this and this, then it would have been a different outcome. But since I was nice and I was like apologetic and just asked him if it was okay if I would stay, then he was like, yeah, no problem. So it's always the right way to approach it. Another thing to think about and to know about summer versus winter in the Hawaiian Islands is going to determine which anchorages are comfortable when based on the seasonal swell patterns. So the summer has a lot of south swell. So if there's a really big south swell, then all the south-facing anchorages are going to be miserable. And in the winter, you can't anchor at all on the North Shore because the waves stand up to like 25, 30 feet. So, but then in the summer, the North Shore is like dead calm, usually, so that's supposed to be really beautiful anchoring over there. Let's talk about inter-island sailing. Now, if you've arrived to the Hawaiian Islands by boat, you're an ocean sailor. You have ocean sailing experience, so it's not a big deal. Just keep in mind that when you are sailing between any of the islands, you are indeed doing ocean sailing. It's a little like misleading because the channels, if you pull the distance on the navionics, the channels are like 30 miles wide. And it's like, well, it's only a 30-mile wide channel, no problem. It's not the case. They are only 30 miles wide, but they have those channels create massive acceleration zones due to the geographic features of the islands and the underwater features. So I always describe it like it's like putting your thumb over a garden hose. You know, all that water from the Pacific Ocean who's just been charging across with the trade winds, it gets bottlenecked and it just accelerates through there and the waves stand up. Same thing happens with the wind. And so far I've sailed all but the Alenuihaha channel. I've sailed all the channels in the Hawaiian Islands. And I'll be doing that one very soon. But all the channels, basically, you can kind of guarantee that whatever the wind is forecasted, it's going to be double in the channel. I even left at like 2 in the morning to do the Molokai channel one night. And it was forecasted for 10 knots. And at 2 a.m., it was 22 knots in the channel. So, and then you get the waves that come with that as well. So, just understand, like, keep your second reef tied in, and like go in and feel it out. Don't go in all cowboy with all your sail out. Especially, it's deceiving leaving Oahu if you're gonna beat up into head out to Maui or something, because you're in the wind shadow of Diamond Head or something. So you'd be like, oh, you'll shake everything out. And then once you get past Diamond, you get outside the lee of the island, you just get hammered. So that's just a rule of thumb. And then I've found there's about a 2-knot current in most of the channels. It might be more sometimes. And sometimes, if there's no wind, the current can run northbound based on the tides, which is very strange. And apparently the sort of low water tide, like is stronger than the high water tide. So it's all like, and locals know all this stuff, right? Local boatmen or fishermen, like, this is stuff that they've grown up with, so they're all privy to that. This is stuff I've had to learn the hard knocks way while being here. But just know that you're doing serious ocean sailing once you get out there into those channels. And just think about it that way and everything will be fine. Now, the best resources I've found for the Hawaiian Islands, the number one is Cruising Guide to the Hawaiian Islands. And I have a link in the description below. This is Carolyn and Bob Meffy. This is the 3rd edition. And fantastic cruising guide. This thing is incredible. It literally has everything you need to know. And it's up to date. So pick up a copy of this. It's not cheap. but it is worth every single penny you're going to spend on this cruising guide if you're interested in hitting a bunch of the different anchorages. Another really fun cruising guide is this called Noodles Notes, which I had it printed spiral bound. It's a free PDF that this gentleman, Bill Leary, who has 50 years of sailing in the Hawaiian Islands, and he has a lot of fantastic information, satellite images of where to anchor, lots of information about underwater mooring balls, you name it. He has got a ton of info about all the islands from many, many years, 50 years of sailing these islands. And again, this is available on his website. I think it's noodlenotes.com. I'll put a card and there's a link in the description. Free PDF, and I like uploaded it to like FedEx Office and had it printed spiral bound so I could flip through it, have it open when I'm entering an anchorage. That's just how I do. But those are the best cruising guides you can find for the Hawaiian Islands, so make sure you pick those up. Let's talk about wintering in Oahu. So you've arrived here and you decided, okay, we want to spend a winter here, either because you want to have like a full season in Alaska, or because you're going to head to French Polynesia the next year, or maybe you got here and you have to do repairs that don't allow you to continue the thing, which is what happened to me. So the first thing to know is if you have to haul out on Oahu, you need to schedule it as soon as you know, or even ahead of time. If you just want to haul out when you get here to do a bottom job, you can schedule it before you leave the mainland. Call them, be like, this is estimated like when we want to be, they'll schedule you. I had to wait 4 months. There was a 4-month backlog of haul out for me to fix the rudder, which really put a lot of stress on me, because then I'm just kind of sitting. I mean, I was doing a ton of other projects, but I was kind of like trapped. I couldn't do a bunch of adventuring and stuff because I had dropped the rudder in the water to try to see if I could repair it in the water. It was not possible. So I knew I had to haul out. Called up and they're like, oh, cool. Yeah, our first time we can haul you out is 4 months from now. So just know that there's a massive wait to get hauled out. So if you find something that happens, schedule it as soon as you know. Now, the place I hauled out was the Kehi Marine Center, and I had a really good experience with them. They're a great boatyard. One of the things I liked about that, similar to the Ventura Harbor boatyard in California, is they let you stay on your boat and they let you do your own work. They do lock everyone in at 7 p.m. at night and then unlock the gates at 7 a.m. There's a number if you get locked out, if you're out and you come back and the gate's locked, there's a number you can call and a guard will come let you in or let you out if you're working on your boat late. But the one real bummer is there are no showers. So you're working on your boat, sand in the bottom, you're getting filthy. Then there's no way to shower. You can take a hobo shower in the bathroom, but that's the only real downfall. I can't remember what my total cost with haul out was $2,600, but that included $800 worth of welding to fix my rudder. They're almost double for haul out costs that it cost at Ventura Harbor Boatyard in Southern California. Also, like, lay days in Southern California are $51 a day, and here for my 30-foot boat was like $77 a day. So everything's quite a bit more expensive. But the staff was really nice. It was a good yard, and I had a really good experience there. Another thing to think about, as I mentioned before, you have the 120-day limit per calendar year for the state harbors. You can always hop between state harbors. You can also look into staying, trying to find a slip at a private marina, which is going to be quite a bit more expensive. But 2 of those to check out, La Mariana Sailing Club. Pretty little small spot. They had a ton of open slips, but none for big boats. So I don't even know if they had slips for boats as big as 40 feet. But anything under 40 feet, they had a bunch of slips. And they were pretty nice. It's very island time over there. Like I called probably 10 times, couldn't get anyone on the phone, stopped by the office, no one was there, and finally got a hold of someone. And I stayed there after my boatyard haul out for like 4 days. And it was a nice spot to land after that. And So yeah, that's something to check out. It's a really nice marina called Koholina. It's up on the west side. You're pretty far removed. You don't... The only bummer about that spot is, like, unless you have a car, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's like in a kind of resort compound, and there's no walking distance to a grocery store or anything, so it's a really nice, very secure, safe marina. And it's situated to where you could really take advantage of all the west side anchorages, which are fantastic. But you're really kind of in the middle of nowhere. If you had a vehicle, then it wouldn't be a problem. As far as receiving mail goes, if you're staying at one of the state harbors, specifically Alawai, they have a thing, like a sign when you're at the desk that gives you their mailing address, and you can receive mail to the office. I would for sure talk to them before you just start having stuff delivered there, just to make sure it's okay. But there is a sign that says you can receive your mail there if you're a guest staying there. I got a temporary mailbox for the time I was in Hawaii at a UPS store. It was affordable. I can't remember what the price was, but and I used it a lot. I ordered anything. I'd order tons of stuff on Amazon or whatever and get it sent there. And I would get an email and a text message telling me when I had a package. So then I wouldn't have to go check randomly all the time. I would know when something arrived, and then I would just make the trip over to get the stuff. That's the one thing to know, is there are no Amazon lockers on island, so that was the main reason that I got that mailbox. Because there's also very limited supplies. So you need certain things that aren't on island, then you'll have to order them in. You're going to have to get them shipped somewhere. And that's how I went about it. One last thing I want to mention is, if you plan on overwintering in Oahu, I would really suggest getting a membership to the Hawaii Yacht Club. I stayed there on their Aloha dock for a week. I had some problems with my tiller head when I was doing my sea trials. And Travis, their port captain, found me a spot on the Aloha dock. Basically on that dock, they'll raft people up next to each other. So I was tied up there for 4 days. And the facilities there are fantastic. They have like really great, really nice showers, a big area where you can sit and work on your computer, a gorgeous lawn. There's a restaurant up there where you can sit, have dinner and drinks, watch the gorgeous sunset across the ocean. Really awesome facility. Totally secure, and I enjoyed my stay there. So, like, I wish I had, like, thought about it and, like, applied to be a member there when I first got there, because it would be nice. They also have a big workshop, and they have ice, all kinds of stuff. But they have a big work table, bench, tools, everything that members can use. And they have, like, a pretty affordable, it's like $55 a month or something. I think that's what it is, for their H2O membership. It's like a new membership they've just done that's, like, pretty affordable. So that's something to think about, just to have access to that. And then they have, like, they grill food on Mondays. You can, like, bring beer, trade beer for meat and stuff. So, and I'd met a number of sailors just around town, and a lot of them were members of that club, and everybody was super nice. But I enjoyed the I think I stayed there 4 or 5 days, and really enjoyed it. So that's a cool option if you're going to be in Oahu for a while. So I know this was a long-winded video, but I hope that this information helped you. I'm sure I forgot a bunch of stuff, but that's what I know that I know. So again, check out the links in the description. There's a link to a PDF I've made where I typed out all of my talking points for this video. And there'll be like hyperlinks in that to different websites and stuff. So if you liked it, if you did, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. And if you have any further questions, hit me up. If I'm within cell range, then I will answer them. I'm going to be kind of off-grid a lot this summer, sailing throughout kind of remote areas of the South Pacific. So I do my best to answer comments when I can. But I look forward to sharing the rest of my Hawaiian adventures with you guys. Those are all coming up soon. As well as pushing on to the South Pacific. So thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, hit that little bell so you don't miss any future episodes. And yeah, thanks for everything. Hope this helps. Fair winds until next time. If you enjoy the content on this channel and would like to contribute, you can consider joining the Patreon crew. Thanks for watching. Fair winds until next time.